Ever walk past someone on the sidewalk, everything they own stuffed into a worn-out bag, and wonder how life led them there? It's easy to think you've got it figured out. Laziness, bad decisions, right? But the truth about the homeless in America runs far deeper than that.
Yeah, maybe like 75% of them.
Really?
75%.
In this video, we're breaking down 5 major myths about homelessness that distort our views and block real progress. From who they are to what they truly need. Let's dig into the facts together, step by step, with open minds and hearts willing to understand. Stay with us. You might see this crisis from a completely different perspective. One of the most persistent myths about the homeless in America is that they're just lazy, unwilling to roll up their sleeves and earn a living. It's a belief deeply rooted in our cultural mindset, this notion that hard work alone is enough to lift anyone out of poverty. We've all heard the saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and it's easy to apply it here without question. But the reality, when you look closer, paints a very different picture, one that challenges our beliefs and calls for a bit of humility.
I was always out trying to find a can to buy, make money to support my children and pay my bills. So I never had time to get lonely. So I don't know what loneliness really is. I did what I could do in life, and I did the best I could. So I ain't got no regret now.
According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's 2023 Annual Homeless Assessment Report, around 20 to 25% of homeless people in America are working. That's right, working. These are individuals clocking in for shifts at fast food joints, retail outlets, or construction sites, yet still unable to afford a home of their own. In cities like San Francisco and New York, where living costs have soared, a minimum wage job, or even two, often can't cover rent, utilities, and daily needs. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition's 2022 study highlights this point. There isn't a single state in the nation where a full-time minimum wage worker can afford a one-bedroom apartment at market price. Not one. Imagine working more than 40 hours a week, yet still sleeping in a shelter or on a park bench because your paycheck doesn't stretch far enough. That's the harsh truth for people like Jerry, a Marine veteran from Denver, whose experience shows both the financial struggle and the relentless effort it takes to survive while homeless. Jerry calls homelessness a job within a job. He notes that about 60% of Denver's homeless population is employed, yet still unable to pay for a roof over their heads.
So we need houses that are low income for people that would be rented to them according to their income. That's 0 to 30%.
Every day is a fight setting up and breaking down camp, finding food and water, and locating a safe place to rest. There are no breaks, he says. Homeless people are anything but lazy. Yet Jerry's story also exposes how the system penalizes poverty. He's received 3 citations for urban camping, even though he has nowhere else to go. When he can't pay the fines, he's ordered to perform community service, which he describes as 21st century slavery, working for the city without compensation. His situation is one of many, showing the brutal truth: people aren't homeless because they're idle, but because they're stuck in an economy where wages, rent, and chances simply don't match. So why does this myth stick around? Part of it, I think, comes from our tendency to oversimplify a complex issue. It's easier to fault the individual than to face systemic problems like stagnant wages or a housing market far beyond reach for many. But blaming the person on the corner ignores the broader reality. It's not a lack of effort, it's a lack of opportunity, a lack of affordable housing, and a missing safety net to catch people before they hit bottom. What about you? Have you ever thought someone was homeless because they didn't work hard enough? It's worth thinking about where that belief comes from and whether it holds up once you really examine the facts. Another misconception that's tough to let go of is the belief that everyone who's homeless in America struggles with addiction or mental illness. It's a stereotype we see in films, on TV, and even around our neighborhoods. A disheveled person talking to themselves or holding a cardboard sign, and we assume that's the entire picture. While it's true that some unhoused individuals face those struggles, labeling them all the same way is not only wrong but also dangerously misleading. Let's take a look at the facts. According to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition's 2022 report, the primary cause of homelessness isn't addiction or mental illness, it's the shortage of affordable housing. Only about 30% of homeless people deal with substance abuse or a diagnosed mental health issue, according to HUD's 2023 data. That means the majority, 70%, don't fit that label. Many are individuals who lost their homes because of unemployment, a medical crisis, or rent increases they simply couldn't keep up with. These are everyday people who, like you and me, were just one or two setbacks away from losing it all. Take the situation in Grants Pass, Oregon, where the city's response often reinforces these damaging assumptions. One man interviewed there spoke openly about the constant judgment he endures from the public. He said they're trying to claim that all homeless people are either alcoholics or drug users. He then strongly rejected that blanket assumption, pointing to his own story as proof not all homeless people are alcoholics or drug addicts. I can say that because I'm not an addict and I'm not an alcoholic.
They're trying to say that all homeless people are either alcoholics or drug users. All homeless people are not alcoholics or drug addicts. I can say that because I'm not a drug addict. I'm not an alcoholic.
His words are a powerful reminder that while people search for simple self-inflicted reasons behind homelessness, the real issues like housing shortages and financial instability often get overlooked. Stories like his are far more common than most realize, yet the image of the addicted drifter continues to dominate. Why does this false belief persist? I think it's because it feels easier to separate ourselves from the issue if we believe homelessness only affects those people, the ones we see as different. It's unsettling to admit that homelessness could happen to anyone under the right set of circumstances. The truth is, many of us are closer to that line than we'd like to believe. A lost job, a medical emergency, or one unexpected bill could push things over the edge. So let me ask you this. Do we focus too heavily on addiction and mental illness when we talk about homelessness instead of seeing the wider economic reality? It's something worth thinking about as we move forward. When you think about the homeless in America, your mind likely goes straight to crowded city streets, Los Angeles with its endless tent camps, New York's packed subway stations, or San Francisco's sidewalks lined with blankets and sleeping bags. It's easy to assume homelessness only plagues urban areas where sky-high rents and the fast-paced grind seem to push people over the edge. But here's the truth, it's a myth we need to let go of. Homelessness doesn't recognize boundaries. It's not just an urban issue, it's quietly spreading through small towns and rural communities too.
I don't know where to go. And I really don't know what the solution could be besides having some place that people can afford to help us get back on our feet.
The statistics speak for themselves. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's 2023 report, more than 10% of America's homeless population lives in rural regions. That's thousands of lives, often hidden in plain sight. In places like the backroads of Kentucky or the wide plains of Nebraska, homelessness doesn't always mean someone holding a sign on a busy corner. It could be a family staying on a friend's couch, a single mother sleeping in her car with her kids, or someone camping in the woods because they have nowhere else to turn. These stories are happening everywhere, but they're easy to overlook because they rarely make the evening news. Take, for instance, a small town in rural Oregon, where a 2022 local survey found dozens of families living in trailers without heat or running water after the local mills closed down. No nearby shelters, no workforce programs to count on, just people doing their best to survive. It's a different kind of hardship than what we see in big cities, but it's every bit as devastating. Rural communities often lack the safety nets found in cities like day centers or food banks, making it even harder for residents to rebuild their lives. So why do we still think homelessness is only a city problem? The media plays a huge part focusing on urban encampments that draw public attention. And we often idealize small-town life picturing friendly neighbors and peaceful streets. But poverty doesn't skip over rural America, and neither does homelessness. So let me ask you this. Have you ever thought about what homelessness looks like beyond the city lines? It's a question that might just reshape how you see this crisis and who truly needs our compassion and support. It's tempting to think that simply giving out apartment keys could erase homelessness. Just hand everyone a home and boom, the problem disappears right. It sounds ideal, but when you look at the reality of the homeless in America, it becomes clear that this idea is far too simplistic for such a complex issue. Housing is a massive part of the solution, no doubt, but assuming it's the full answer is like expecting one puzzle piece to finish the picture. Life's more complicated than that, and so is this crisis. Let's look at what actually works. Programs like Housing First, which prioritize getting people into permanent housing first, have shown incredible success. Take Utah, for instance. In the early 2000s, the state fully embraced Housing First, and chronic homelessness dropped by nearly 91% between 2005 and 2015, according to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition. The concept is simple. When someone has a safe place to sleep, they stand a much better chance at tackling other problems like finding work or improving their health. It's transformative and has pulled thousands off the streets. But here's the thing, housing by itself isn't a magic fix. For many people, homelessness is tied up with deeper challenges like poverty, illness, limited job skills, or unresolved trauma. Without support to address those issues, a home can feel more like a temporary patch than a lasting solution. I read about a man named Tom, a veteran from Portland. He received an apartment through Housing First, but without treatment for his PTSD or job assistance, he couldn't maintain stability and eventually returned to the streets. That's not uncommon. HUD's 2023 data shows that about 20% of individuals in some housing programs fall back into instability without added help like therapy, career training, or healthcare. That's why the answer has to be bigger than just providing shelter. People need access to mental health care, addiction recovery if needed, and real opportunities for jobs that pay a livable wage. Even trying to navigate social services can feel like a full-time job. It's exhausting and confusing for anyone. And let's not forget about rising costs. Zillow reported in 2023 that the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in major cities now exceeds $100 or $800 per month. Even with a free place to begin staying housed on a limited income is tough without consistent support. So why do we keep believing that housing alone is the ultimate fix? I think it's because we crave an easy, clear-cut solution, something we can point to and say, there, we did it. Building housing feels achievable. Confronting poverty or broken healthcare systems feels overwhelming. But if we stop at housing, we're setting people up to fail. So here's something to consider. Are we putting too much faith in housing as the only solution to homelessness? Or are we ignoring the other essential pieces? It's worth asking what true stability really requires. When you picture the homeless in America, what image comes to mind? Probably an older man, maybe in his 50s or 60s, sitting alone on a park bench with a scruffy beard and a cardboard sign. It's a familiar stereotype we've all seen countless times. But the reality is that homelessness is far more diverse than that. And this myth hides the struggles of many others, women, children, families, and young adults, all facing the same harsh reality. Let's take a look at the facts. HUD's 2023 Annual Homeless Assessment Report shows that about 22% of the homeless population in the U.S. are children under 18. That's nearly 1 in 4 kids who should be in classrooms or playing outside, not spending nights in shelters or cars. Families often led by single mothers are an expanding group making up around 30% of the total in 2023. Women are appearing in rising numbers, too many escaping domestic abuse or crushed under financial pressure. And it's not just older individuals, young adults, including those aging out of foster care or unable to find stable work, are also falling through the cracks. I think about Laura, a woman I met in New York City's Times Square, struggling to survive with her small dog by her side. Laura wasn't there because of poor choices or losing a job. She fled an abusive partner after enduring 4 severe head injuries that left her with permanent brain damage. She told me those injuries caused confusion and memory problems, making it hard to concentrate, plan ahead, or manage complex systems. One day she had to leave everything behind because her condition made staying home too dangerous. Now she's exposed to the streets, sleeping over subway vents for warmth and depending on strangers to watch her few belongings, just so she can use a restroom. Laura's story reveals how domestic violence and hidden disabilities can push women into homelessness and constant danger. This myth is important because it shapes who we think is worth helping. If we only picture homelessness as an old man's issue, we overlook children needing stability, families desperate for support, and young people trying to break free from poverty. It allows us to look away believing it's something distant from our own lives. But the truth is, homelessness could be your neighbor, your coworker, or someone you walk past every single day. Homelessness in America isn't just a crisis. We notice on street corners or in viral clips, it's a reflection of the deeper cracks within our society. Behind every tent, every worn-out sleeping bag, lies a story of someone who once had hopes, careers, and families just like ours. Yet too often, public opinion is shaped by stereotypes rather than truth. We hear things like they brought this on themselves or they refused to work. But such remarks overlook the economic, social, and mental health struggles that drive people into homelessness. Grasping this truth demands empathy, not pity, awareness, not avoidance. When we look closer, we begin to see that homelessness isn't about personal failure. It's about systemic neglect and shared accountability. As we've exposed these 5 major myths, I hope you're starting to view the homeless in America through a more accurate lens. They're not just idle wanderers or broken souls, as we sometimes assume they're workers, parents, children, and neighbors caught in a web of systemic barriers no single fix can untangle. Have you ever held any misconceptions about the homeless? Share your perspective with us in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. The myths we've discussed about laziness, addiction, city concentration, quick fixes, and stereotypes of who the homeless are reveal our tendency to oversimplify a complicated issue. Still recognizing these truths is the first real step toward meaningful change. What can we do with this understanding? First, let's push ourselves to challenge what we think we know. The next time you pass someone on the street, stop for a moment and realize their story might be far more complicated than it appears. Second, let's support policies that tackle root causes, affordable housing, fair wages, accessible healthcare, and strong community support networks. Groups like the National Coalition for the Homeless or local shelters are doing vital work, and they need our help whether through volunteering donations or simply raising awareness. I'll leave you with one last question. What's one action you could take in your community to shift the conversation around homelessness? Maybe it's educating yourself, sharing this video, or connecting with a local nonprofit. Whatever it may be, every effort matters. If this video has opened your eyes in some way, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments below. And if you found it meaningful, please tap the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the issues shaping our nation. Together we can move beyond myths and towards solutions that truly make a difference.